Welcome into another live episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm Glenn Martin, riding solo for this one, but of course, DK is in the background helping me out, which I greatly appreciate. But before we get started, just want to let you know this episode is brought to you by Bet Online. Bet Online is your number one source for the NBA and NHL playoffs, which, I mean, if anyone watched the game last night, what a way to kick off the Western Conference Finals. An exciting game between the Mavericks and the Minnesota Timberwolves. But that is your number one source. BetOnline is for NBA, NHL playoff season. Every stat, every matchup, even live odds while the games are being played. So even if you don't get any bets in before the game, that's okay. They have in-game bets that are continuously updated as the game goes on. When the game's over, head over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker, unwind in one of our 150 slot games. So not just sports gambling. You're talking your traditional casino games available there as well. Head to the website today or the app to get in on the action. Don't forget to use the promo code BLEAV. That's BLEAV for 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. So get that free money. Don't forget promo code BLEAV. Bet Online. The game starts here. But let's get into this because we've had OTAs started here in Baltimore, and man, it's an exciting time. I mean, not just to get the first look at some of the new additions to the team, some of the rookies, the both drafted and undrafted, as well as some of the new additions like King Henry, who's the first time we saw him in uniform working in the same backfield as Lamar Jackson, but also, get to see some of these veterans that have been around. And look, some of these guys have made some pretty big changes, specifically Lamar Jackson and the weight loss that we saw him go under. He's reportedly at about 205, which is about 10 pounds lower than what he said was playing weight was last year. And so it was just a lot of ways to get a good look at what these guys, are going to be looking like, and to see the kind of work they put in the offseason, and also see these guys start to march towards that championship that they narrowly missed out on last year. But let's quick shout outs here. Jamal Hooper, appreciate you. Appreciate you coming out. My guy, Quan, thank you. Mark Anthony, the gamer. We love you, Mark Anthony. You're the man. Dylan, what's going on, buddy? Yeah, no Diddy. I got you, Mark Anthony. Yes, I got you. Keon, what's going on, buddy? Jax, Carla, hello. Eli, good evening to you as well, sir. Quan, I'm rooting for Falele and Cleveland. I believe in improvement. Wow, okay. Well, I do too, but man, that Rosengarten's a pretty damn special looking athlete and player. So Falele has his work cut out for him, but Cleveland looks to have the inside track, so we'll see how it goes there. What's going on, Caleb? Appreciate you coming out. I need all the help I can get from the chat, as I'll be doing this show all alone, not with my my faithful co-host Jimmy, who will be back tomorrow. Which, by the way, as a quick aside, tomorrow night Kadri Ismail will be on the show with us, doing an interview to talk about the Ravens, but also his son Kadir making the team, getting signed to an actual contract. He started as a tryout, then he gets signed to the team. So excited to hear about what Kadri has to say about his son and the rest of the team, because he's as locked in as anyone when it comes to the Ravens. What's going on, Dylan? What's going on, Tanja? Appreciate you coming out. Jamal, thank you. Appreciate your help. But all right, let's start with how OTAs started, and that is a couple days ago. And really what I wanted to point out first and foremost, which is super exciting, is just incredible participation. Like, I mean, these guys showed out. We saw, big name after big name on both sides of the ball, guys coming out and not skipping this kind of stuff. We don't see, a lot of these guys, sometimes when you get higher paid, you get further along in your career, you may skip some of these off-season training camps because they're not mandatory. And you may say, look, I know how to prepare my body on my own, and you may not think it's as valuable to come out. But this is the list of OTA absences in the first day. So I'll just quickly, actually, you know what? I'm going to put this up on the screen so you guys can see it with me, make it easier rather than me just running down a quick list and expect you guys to remember. This is, of course, looks like courtesy of Kyle Phoenix on Twitter. So appreciate you making this a little easier by consolidating a nice list for me. So as you can see here, attendance is high, but did have some absences. But as you can see here, it's not a very lengthy list. See Justin Tucker, Emory Jones, Keaton Mitchell, who, by the way, they later corrected this. He was there. He just was dressed and not participating, but he was in attendance. And then wide receiver, it's embarrassing. I'm not sure who that is. D, first of all. All right. Is somebody setting me up here? I think that's supposed to be Hardy. I think that's supposed to be Deontay Hardy, which is our new wide receiver / kick returner. So I'm going to guess that that's what that is. And then wide receiver Nelson Aguilar, backup everything on the offensive line, Patrick McCary, outside linebacker Adisa Isaac, Kyle Van Noy, outside linebacker. Braid, again, the safety out of Maryland. He was there. He was just in a walking brute, so not participating, but still in the building. Safety Marcus Williams, D lineman Michael Pierce, as well as D lineman, I think it's Rashad Nichols and Bravian Roy, also non-participants. But again, some of this list was put out as the practice started, and some of these guys, again, they mentioned that they were there. They just maybe weren't participants due to injury or coming back from injury. So that's the good thing I see at first and foremost. And what does that tell you? I mean, does it mean that because these guys are there that necessarily this means it's going to correlate to more wins? Maybe not, but at least what it does mean is that I think I got to imagine if you're going to show up, it's likely tells me that you enjoy being around your teammates. You enjoy coming to work because you don't have to be here. You could be doing this work at your house with your buddies, with your own trainer that you acquire. The fact that these guys are willing to come here and so a lot of these guys don't even live here. This is they have homes in the off season where they went to college, where they went to high school. So the fact that they were all here is only a positive thing. Again, doesn't necessarily translate to wins, but is still a very positive thing. We got to see our first look of Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry in the backfield. And I'm going to tell you guys, every time I see it, it just gets me excited. I mean, first of all, Derrick Henry, you just always forget how gigantic this guy is. He is just a massive, massive human being. But to see him and Lamar, even see Lamar throwing a couple passes his way is pretty cool to see. Can't wait to see these guys in actual game action. It's going to be, it's going to be an awesome sight to see. And actually, I'm going to throw this up here so you guys can see it. And this is courtesy of Kevin Ostreicher of Ravens Wire, who put this video up. So I want to give credit where it's due. As you can see here, I don't know how much of this we're going to be seeing here, but I'm hopeful to see more and more because we didn't see Derrick Henry do a lot of pass catching in his time, certainly in his last couple of years with the Tennessee Titans. In fact, found himself on the sideline in a lot of those guaranteed passing downs. And last year, Tajay Sharp, the backup running back, was their primary third down back. And so what does that mean? Does that mean that guy's really good and that they don't think Derrick Henry is as good of a pass catcher? Maybe. Or maybe he just needed some more work and could open up a different part of his game. Because anytime you get Derrick Henry the ball, especially in open space, and you're telling me he's likely going to be going up against DBs on the outside, I'll take that. And good luck trying to tackle that guy. So pretty cool to see that. Let me see here. Just making sure I'm not missing anything in the chat. Yeah, happy to see the King out there. Yes, absolutely. Another guy who didn't have to, excuse me. Hold on now. He didn't necessarily have to come out. I mean, it's nice to see, being as though he's on a new team, that he wanted to kind of start it off on the right note. It's nice to see, but yeah, he didn't have to be there, but yet he is. But let's get into some other news and notes. I'm excited to talk about. Let's see. Marlon Humphrey was another guy, dressed but a limited participant. That's it. It's a big year for him. I saw that somebody listed him as the most overpaid Raven on the team. And I think he took a little bit of offense to that, rightfully so. But let's hope we get a healthy Marlon Humphrey this year. And Michael Pierce, I mentioned earlier, he wasn't there. He actually was. He was with Keaton Mitchell, both watching, just not participating. And this is another one. David Ajabo there and participated, but in limited fashion. And man, please have a healthy offseason, David. Please. We cannot see another situation where this guy goes into another season unhealthy. Yeah, that would really be a devastating situation for the outside linebacker. We really need that guy to play at least to some role. I mean, he doesn't have to be our number one, but he has to participate. I think that's pretty safe to say. But didn't get a ton of action, like photos or videos to know what these guys are doing. So we had to rely a lot of times on just the press conferences. So the good news is they had some pretty good ones over the last couple of days. The first day, Yesterday they had Kyle Hamilton, John Harbaugh, Lamar Jackson, and who's the fourth one I'm missing? I'm forgetting. Let me see here if I can pull it up. Kyle Hamilton, and let me see if DK can help me. Anyway, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. I watched all of them. It's not coming to me right this second. But the first thing you want to talk about that they asked Lamar Jackson about is, the season opener, playing the defending champions, the team that ended the Ravens season last year in the AFC Championship game here in Baltimore. They asked him, how's it feel opening against the Chiefs? And he said he doesn't care. He said he doesn't care who they play. I just want to make it to the Super Bowl. And I guess to some degree, Zay. Yes, thank you, Tanja. Yes, it was Zay. Absolutely. How could I forget Zay? I mean, my goodness. I don't know what I was thinking. But yeah, Zay was the fourth guy to go yesterday. And then today was the coordinators. So the offense and defensive coordinators, Todd Monken and Zach Orr. And then the special teams coordinator, Chris Horton, also was out there. So we got to hear from all the coaches over the last couple of days and a bunch of the key players on offense, as well as Kyle Hamilton on defense. But here you can see here, Lamar Jackson said he doesn't care who he's playing or who they're playing. He just wants to win or make it to the Super Bowl. I think he mentioned that it almost hurt worse just not getting to the Super Bowl. So, I mean, he's never made it and lost, so he doesn't have a much perspective, but I can tell that he was certainly disappointed that, the season ended like all of us were. I got to imagine, though, like, what does this game, like, I'd love to get some true serum on these players and know, what does this game do for you? Like, what does it mean to you? Does it really mean anything if you beat them? Or is it simply wait until you see them in the playoffs? That's the only one that really matters. I will say this. For standings, it obviously matters, right? Like if you want to be the number one seed, the only seed that gets a first round bye, it could come down to tiebreakers. It oftentimes does. And so if you want to be that guy, winning that opening game, getting that tiebreaker against the defending AFC champions as well, could be the difference in whether that game's in Baltimore and Arrowhead. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm hoping that game's the big crab cake. And you better believe my Tuchus is going to be in that stand again, because I'm not going to let the last time I'm there for an AFC championship be the way it was last year where it ended prematurely. So he's excited, obviously, to get back out there, but says he doesn't care who it is. It could be anyone. And to some degree, I get what he's saying. He just wants to play ball. He doesn't care who it is. But the next thing I want, and he didn't really touch on much else, unless, let me see here. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything here. I got some news and notes here, ladies and gentlemen. Let me see here. Now, he did get asked about the weight. So I guess I should say he kind of downplayed it. I think he said he wanted to get a little faster, wanted to get a little quicker. But overall, just kind of downplayed the whole weight loss thing, which I rightfully so. It's like, I mean, it's not like the guy's, an offensive tackle where strength is the main part of, like, strength is the most important part of his game, or a D tackle where he's got to hold up and stack against two offensive linemen trying to knock him on his ass. This is a quarterback we're talking about here. So what's going on, Gideon? I appreciate you coming out. No, you're my man, Gideon. My guy. You're my guy. But yeah, he was asked a little bit about his weight, but he basically just downplayed. Now, he did get asked what it's going to be like to hand the ball to Derrick Henry, and he just said, when he had just go big guy, go. He turns into a fan. He cheers like we cheer when he hands the ball to Derrick Henry, and that's what he plans on doing. So moving on, we also heard from John Harbaugh, who was, again, asked about Lamar Jackson's weight, says he's in the best shape of his life, has full confidence that Lamar, as a pro, knows exactly what he's doing. And again, he worked with a trainer. This isn't something where he just stopped eating for an entire offseason and just got skinny that way. No, this was a planned weight loss designed to increase flexibility, speed, quickness, all that stuff. So, yeah, let's just move on from there. He was also, John Harbaugh was asked about the return date of Keaton Mitchell, and he said, look, it's not right around the corner. This is not something where we expect him to play or be ready by the first week of the season. And I guess, this should become as no surprise. He had a late season injury and is coming back with the knee injury. But the good thing is it wasn't an extensive knee injury. It wasn't like what we saw with JK, where it was like, I mean, not just the ACL. It was, I mean, he tore the ACL, the MCL. He tore his hamstring off the bone. Like, it was a complete and total mess of a knee because of that injury. Keaton's injury is being described as a cleaner injury, so in hopes that, he won't have as long of a recovery time and hopefully won't have to go back in for any cleanup surgeries like we saw with JK. But a week one, expected date is just not going to happen. So he said at some point in the regular season is what they're aiming for. When that is, we won't know. But my early indication, my early guesses are maybe November is what they're shooting for. But I would say not to necessarily forget about Keaton Mitchell, but let's not put any added pressure or ask this guy to rush back, because we don't necessarily need him. Certainly not in the initial part of the season when we have those guys like Derrick Henry, Justice Hill, and even Rasheem Ali, who is the new draft pick. So let's let that guy get healthy and we'll see what happens. Cakes Mitchell says, the great Glenn Bino. Hope all is well, brother. Glad to catch you live. Absolutely. Cakes, I appreciate you coming out. It's been too long, way too long. But it's nice to see it. The great Glenn Bino. I've had a lot of people make up nicknames for me. That's a new one. Haven't heard the great Glenn Bino. That is a new one. So I appreciate that, Cakes. Appreciate your support and continued viewership. Thank you so much. What's going on, Lisa Ann? Appreciate you coming out. Sublooms, aka Chaos. Appreciate you coming out as well. Let's see here. Okay, just making sure I'm not missing anybody in the chat. I want to make sure I'm there we go. John Pollock, how do you feel about the Jamal Adams guy? John, we just did a video about that. If you want to see our take on whether Jamal Adams should be here, just simply go into our videos and you'll see it's the last one that we uploaded. So check that out. It's like 10 or 12 minutes. Gives you all of our takes on that. Got to call your shot on Jimmy Glenn, the weekly pick. Yeah. Just look, if you want to go with the winner, you go with the G-Man here. Okay. You go with the people's champ when it comes to the in-season competition. I don't care what DK's history tells us. Okay. I don't care what Jimmy has done. You go with the people's champ here. But then let's see what else they were asked about here. Let me go into some more notes here. We heard from John Harbaugh about Jamal Adams. Perfect segue here. He said he was impressed by the mindset. Got to know him again at the Pro Bowl a couple of years ago. It seems like John used that Pro Bowl as a way. I mean, it's a smart guy. He didn't just use it as a vacation. This was not just some fun trip. He used it to recruit, to gain relationships with these guys, because we're seeing some of these newcomers. This is where he first got to kind of reach out to them, talk to them a little bit, gauge their interest, gauge their personality. Would this guy be a fit in our locker room? Would he fit the culture? And it seems like, at least from his opinion, that he gets that he's okay with it, or he would welcome a Jamal Adams. Again, we talked about it, but I questioned the fit and all that stuff. But that's a whole nother video there. And then they asked Kyle Hamilton about. I found this interesting about being a Drake fan. He's an outspoken Drake fan, especially if you're a follower of his on X or Twitter. And he said that, look, it was a tough summer for a Drake fan, but he remains a faithful, strong Drake fan nonetheless, despite Kendrick Lamar apparently winning this rap battle. Look, I'm too old for this stuff. Okay, I'm just trying to keep you guys up to date. All right, I don't know. I know there was a battle. I haven't listened to any of it. I got to be honest with you. I used to listen to rap music when I was younger. I don't listen to a ton of music now. I'm all sports. That's it. It's all I care about, ladies and gentlemen, is sports. Music, okay, I'll nod my head. I might tap my foot. Sports, not TV, occasionally movies. Sports. That's it. That's all I care about. That is my life. Asmodeus, being generous, as always, says, solo show, Glenn, for your $5 footlong Subway needs. My man, yes, solo show tonight, but Jimmy will be back tomorrow in our show with Qadri Ismail. If you guys didn't hear, we will have him on tomorrow talking his son making the team, at least for right now. He's got it. Like he said, nothing's given, only earned. He certainly has some earning left to do, but the fact that he's on this team is pretty freaking cool. And I know he's got to just be proud as heck. So I can't wait to get his take on all that. But appreciate the generosity, Asmodeus. You're the man. Appreciate the foot-long needs. Let me see, Tanji. Yeah, it's literally that's all I do. It's boring in a lot of people's eyes because it's all. I'm the person who will stay up till 3 a.m. to watch an Australian Open tennis match live because I just love watching people compete. It's just me. So when Jimmy tries to get me to watch TV shows, it drives him crazy. It ain't happening, Jimbo. It's all sports for me. And then as far as, let's see, there is another couple things from Kyle Hamilton. He was asked about Nate Wiggins, and he continued to remind people just how young that first-round draft pick is out of Clemson for the Ravens. The cornerback is only 20 years old. So he said, look, if he gives up a bad play, you got to remember, he can't even have a Mike's Hard Lemonade or anything like that to kind of calm down, cool his nerves, relax. It's kind of crazy to think about that. Like you could go into the military, you could sign a multi-million-dollar deal, but you can't have a beer at the end of it. Like that seems a little bit, it seems a little crazy, but hey, I don't know. I don't make the rules. But yeah, that is kind of crazy to think that Nate Wiggins is 20 years old. I am way older than this guy. Holy smokes. It's actually kind of crazy to think about. But let's see here. Zay Flowers was asked about last offseason's police investigation, but pretty much just said he's going to put it behind him and continue to work on being a better person, which, I mean, what else would you expect the guy to say? I think he answered it perfectly. Got to put this behind him. No sense, rehashing anything. Let's just try and move on and like you said, just continue to try and be a better person. That's all we all can do. That's all we ask from anyone. So yeah, we're going to move on from that. And then let's see here. What else we got? There was a couple highlights here that came out. Again, not a ton of news that came out of the practices, but if you had to have a highlight, and this is courtesy of Jonas Schaefer of the Baltimore Banner, formerly of the Baltimore Sun. I'm going to throw this up on the screen here so I can give him his credit as well as allow you guys to kind of see what I'm speaking to here. Here we go. All right, and another guy who's here that didn't have to be there. I mean, I guess it's always a good look, but Justin Metabike also in attendance. But as you can see here, not a lot of notable highlights from yesterday's practice, but Malik Harrison, the linebacker, had the play of the day, a leaping interception over the middle versus Josh Johnson, which, I mean, look, he didn't do it against Lamar, and I can understand people because that's, I'm sure, what people are going to point to, but Malik Harrison making a leaping interception over the middle is, I think that's more than deserving of a highlight, considering that while he was drafted with the thought of maybe him being the running mate next to Patrick Queen, he's primarily made his way as an outside linebacker, specifically in rundowns. Has been a really great addition to that room and allowed some of these older guys who have been maybe, we want to kind of save for those pass rushing downs. He's done a really good job of stacking at that end and forcing the running back inside or something like that. He's been really good against the run. So to see him now making plays in zone coverage, it looks like over the middle, hey, that's adding to his game, right? Adding more clubs to his bag or however you want to say it. This guy, he's going to be around for a long, long time. He might not get to the heights of some of these perennial Pro Bowlers, but this guy's going to make a heck of a career out of himself, and I hope he continues to develop his game. Metabike and Odafe Oweh were also active, and so look, I know everyone's kind of holding their breath on what we're going to get from Odafe Oweh, but I got high hopes for this guy. I think he's going to do really, really well. Okay. I see what you got there, DK. I appreciate that. All right. So let me just make sure we might be moving on to today's after yesterday's. So we've only so far gone through yesterday's news and notes, but let me just make sure there's nothing else. Okay. So I mentioned Bravion Roy was not a participant. Well, it comes to find out that the reason he was not, that he has been waived by the Ravens, says the defensive lineman Bravion Roy, which would explain his absence. Last season he was on the Ravens practice squad, so this does open up a roster spot, so we'll kind of have to wait and see how they decide to fill that. And again, this is a unique year. There are 91 members on the roster because they use that international exemption on David Ajabo, so they can actually carry 91 players. So they only have 90 right now. One spot is open, but let's move on to today's. So let's see. Here's the interesting part today. We didn't see Lamar Jackson today, and we did see him on his Instagram story last night, tweet or post out that he was basically looked like he was traveling. He was flying to LA. So not sure what's going on, but he was here yesterday, spoke to the media yesterday, not a participant today. So today's quarterbacks were just Josh Johnson and Devin Leary. And actually, you know what? I might as well just put this up here, and then I'm going to get we did have some early takes on what Devin Leary looks like as a quarterback. So we're going to get some news on that. Let me see here. Looks like it's popping up right now. Here we go. Ryan Mink of Ravens.com says the Ravens rookie. Oh, hold on. There we go. Okay. Devin Leary is going to be fun to watch this summer in preseason. Okay. With Lamar not practicing today, the 6th rounder had an impressive day. A bunch of strong throws, good placement, huge arm. He rips throws into tight coverage. He did throw 2 picks, however. Okay. All right. Well, that last part is the problem, Ryan, is that he was throwing at a lot of picks in college and also had quite a few fumbles in college. And that was kind of the reason why a lot of people were scared off by him. But I've heard he's got the big arm. He can make every throw, and that's why T. Martin liked the guy. But until I see better decision-making, that's my biggest problem with him. And to me, there's no more important tool than a good decision maker as the quarterback, because it doesn't matter how good your arm is. If you throw it, if you don't know where to go with it, if you throw it to the wrong spot, I don't care how fast it's traveling, it's probably not going to go well. So while I appreciate Ryan's positivity here, and he is paid by the Ravens, so it makes sense that he would remain positive. And I do like hearing that he had, he has good ball placement, but the picks is something that he's definitely got to clean up. And DK said, well, good, he's getting reps. Yes, more reps, the better. And certainly Lamar Jackson's absence probably led to him getting some more reps. And the more the merrier. Let's keep this guy throwing the ball. But yeah, man. He's got to get better with his decision making. In fact, I think I have a little clip here just to show you guys what that looked like yesterday, as well as to show you guys the thing that Lamar had where he posted and was apparently traveling to LA. But here you can see here, as you can see, he posted something on his story. I guess he was listening to a song as well as posting his route for his plane. So, yep. No Lamar Jackson, but that's okay. That's okay. He was here for the first couple days and give some more time and some more work for these other quarterbacks on the team. Let's see here. Make sure I check the chat here. Let's see here. Yeah, he's throwing picks. Yeah. I like the aggressiveness too, Gideon. I appreciate that positivity. Let's hope he continues to learn and grow. Eli says, Glenn, I need to getting your take on our fresh new line. How good or not so good will the King fare behind it? I want to be positive, but I have doubts. Okay. I'm actually glad you brought this up because I wanted to actually get to this a lot sooner. So I appreciate you kind of steering me back to the right direction here, Eli. And thank you for your generosity. Certainly appreciate the super chat and your continued support. So yeah, if you guys have not seen, they had at least the presumed starting offensive line set up for day one. But I will put a caveat before I give you what that is. Last year, we thought it was the presumed setup, and Saleh was getting first-team reps, and he was absolutely he disappeared after that. He had like a week or so, maybe 2 weeks, or I think it was just the OTAs, and then John Simpson took the job and ran with it, and we never saw Saleh again. So while I say that this is the presumed starting offensive line, we thought that last year, and we were obviously wrong. Shocked to see Saleh there. And ultimately, Simpson did take over like we all thought, but that's how it was starting. So this time, starting offensive line was Ronnie Stanley at left tackle. Left guard was Andrew Voorhees. Tyler Linderbaum at center. Right guard was Ben Cleveland. And right tackle was Roger Rosengarten. So that should tell you kind of at least least where they're thinking that it might go, right? They want to start getting these guys some time to gel and to mesh and to get some camaraderie and all that stuff that you need to be a successful offensive line. But I think what was more important, what was even cooler to see, and I think fans should be more excited, is not just how they were lined up, but the lack of knee braces across that offensive line. Ronnie Stanley, number 79, had 0 knee or ankle braces while he was participating. That's got to get Ravens fans excited. Like, I mean, we haven't seen this guy have this healthy of an all season and since before the injury started. Like, this is 2019. Like, we're talking a long, long time since we've had Ronnie Stanley be this healthy at this point in the season. So if he can continue to stay healthy, that means he can continue to build strength. And really, that's all he was missing last year. Like, that ability to anchor against those top flight bull rushers was really all that we were missing. Like, so towards the end of the season, we saw him getting out and leading the way. We saw him, showing off that athleticism that made him so good in 2019, that it made him so attractive, I bet, as a starting left tackle for Todd Monken. It's like, wait, this guy, I can open up the whole playbook because this guy's that athletic. Now you got him on one side and Roger on the other. Woo! You're talking 2 crazy athletic tackles, and then you know what you got at center with Tyler. And you don't get much more athletic than what that guy can bring. And we'll see what we got with the 2 guards at Voorhees and Ben Cleveland, who, Cleveland has athletic limitations. So let's see what it looks like, and we'll have to wait and see what Voorhees, looks like. But I think they're going to be good. To your point, Eli, I think they're going to be good. And you got to remember, as long as Lamar Jackson is in the backfield, there's pause. There's pause from the defense. And that makes everyone's job easier. It makes your offensive line's job easier. Of course, clears and opens holes for a guy like Derrick Henry. Well, now you got to go, how the hell do I pause when I got to sell out for Derrick? So it's just going to help everyone out across the board. So even if these guys aren't necessarily, maybe if you took those guys and put them on other teams, they might not be. They're going to be better here than they are anywhere because of those guys behind them, specifically Lamar Jackson. But I appreciate the comment. Oh, come on now, Kylie. Don't say that. Not about my boy Jimbo. He'll be back tomorrow. Be nice. Be nice out there, ladies and gentlemen. But let's get into some more of the news and notes. Justin Tucker was back today after I announced that he was missing yesterday. He was back. Not that you really, it's cool. But do we really, I don't think anybody would be like, damn, Justin missed it. That's it. There goes our field goal game. This guy can't make anything. No, it's obviously not, something that he needs, but it's pretty cool to see another veteran leading the way. Like, because other guys can go, if Justin Tucker's there, I better bring my ass to camp. Like, I better go to OTAs because Justin's there. He's the kicker, and he's the GOAT kicker at that, who literally could retire today. And it's either him and Vinatieri. They're the GOATs. Like, that's the end of the list. So that's how good that guy's been, and yet he was there today. So that's pretty cool. But missing today, Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers, Metabike, Adafeowe, David Ajabo, Brandon Stevens, Arthur Mollett, and Marlon Humphrey was working off to the side. So a bunch of key veterans. So this could have been kind of part of the plan. This could have been something that these guys, had already decided upon, because that's quite a long list of names. And if you include, hold on. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Besides Lamar, if you include Lamar in this group, that's a pretty good list there. So I've got to imagine that this was something that was discussed by the entire team, including the coaches. And look, this gives an opportunity, like DK said, to get some of these young guys and some of these backups a little bit more reps. So yeah, good to see there. And let's see what else we got here as far as news and notes. Oh yeah, Malik Cunningham. Thank you. Who was in the chat? Who just Jalen J. Thank you. Malik Cunningham. Interesting, because the Ravens ended up getting Malik Cunningham last year after he was, I believe, put on waivers, and the Ravens got him. And the reason, apparently the Ravens weren't the only suitor, or I think he had some choice in the matter or something. Like he wanted to come here because the Ravens still viewed him as a quarterback. And they spoke to that even last year during the press conferences, that they believe him as quarterback. And this year things seem to be changing a little bit. Not to say they don't maybe think he can do some quarterback, but they're at least exploring positional versatility with him. He was seen working out today, but only as a receiver. So he was working strictly and solely with the receivers as a receiver. So does that mean he's transitioning completely to a receiver? Or does this mean that they're, just working on maybe this guy being like a Taysom Hill type player, a player who can be a jack of all trades, a player who maybe could run some halfback, could run some wide receiver, some tight end, and also throw the ball. I mean, that's what we see from Taysom Hill, who is anytime you can have that kind of guy in your back pocket, force defensive coordinators to have to prepare for that guy. I mean, you're keeping him up later. You're making this guy think more, and they can go, what are we going to do if they bring Malik in? Anytime you can make defenses have to prepare for more possibilities, more options, more players, the better. Because you can only practice so much in a 1 week time. Like, in playoffs, you might have a little bit more time, but it's a lot to cram into a very short window. So just adding more to what they have to cram into that very small little window there is a good thing. So I like seeing Malik Cunningham be open to the possibility of, hey, maybe I'm not just a quarterback. Maybe I'm a quarterback, but I'm also a running back. Maybe I'm also a wide receiver. Maybe I'm also a kick and punt returner. Who knows? But take advantage of all that can keep you at this level, keep you in the game, and keep you making the big bucks. Malik, I think, is and keep you helping the team. I think it's pretty cool to see here. But it's still going to be an uphill climb for that guy to make the roster when you consider Josh Johnson being the penciled in backup with all the veteran, all the experience he brings to this team. I think he's obvious. And then Leary was a draft pick. So, that adds to it too, where Malik Cunningham was not. So we'll see how he ends up, if he ends up making the roster. I think it's going to be an interesting thing to see. Let's see here. We did hear from the coaches, and this is the part that I found really interesting because I can't wait to see how this new kick return is going to work. If you guys haven't seen it, the XFL had this unique kickoff style where it brought the kickoff game back. It's not something we're going to see 90% of kneel downs, or 90% of touchbacks. Like that's not what is fun. It's not exciting for the fans. That's not something that's going to get you guys jacked up and ready to go to see a guy. It almost became just like ceremonial. Like it wasn't even a play that had any impact, any value. It was just kick it through the end zone, and then it was just a way to get an extra couple commercials in there. Is basically what it was. Now they're bringing excitement back, but not only that, like we've never seen it in the NFL. So yeah, we can, you can go back and watch XFL and see how they did it, but it's something that I think is cool as a fan of football. Like it's going to be something like drastically different coming to the game of football, which, I know there's always rule changes, adjustments, and emphasizing certain things over last year and all that. But this is a massive overhaul of maybe the most exciting play in football. So I cannot wait. And also what it is, it's going to completely change, in my opinion, how they decide to build that back end of the roster. Because a lot of times with the back end of your roster, you're 50 through 53, you're going to at least want to have maybe an extra safety or an extra corner who's a really good tackler and who's your primary special teams, like a co-cap, like we saw from Anthony Levine, like a guy who you'll see it from the back end receiver, your sixth receiver. He better know how to run down. He better know how to cover kicks. He better know how to break down and tackle. Same with your fourth running back, like all these guys, because their expectation is you got to run 30 yards before you make contact. Then you got to have experience being able to tackle. So, if you're a wide receiver in the back end, you better learn how to tackle quick because you're probably not used to doing it through your playing career. That's why safeties and corners were so valuable, because they're used to tackling. They're used to hand fighting, right? Because they're jamming guys to the line, which you're coming off blocks also, trying to help tackle in the run game. So it made it a natural transition. Let's go get these guys who are used to running and used to tackling and used to fighting off blocks. Okay, makes perfect sense. Well, now these guys are going to line up 5 yards away from the blockers who are blocking for the receiving team. So they don't need to run 30, 35 yards. They don't really need to run at all. They're simply, maybe 5 yards, but as you know, that's not a whole ton. So what it'll do is emphasize, okay, I want a stronger guy. Maybe I want a guy with longer arms. So instead of having extra corners and extra safeties, maybe you're going to have extra inside and outside linebackers, guys who are used to hand fighting and used to ripping off blocks. And the same can be said conversely on the other side. Now your blockers, they don't have to run as much. They don't have to. I just can't wait to see the evolution. Obviously, we'll see some guys get ahead of it and come up with things, and then we'll see copycats, right? We'll see the copycat effect. If it works well for them, I'm going to steal that. Then they adjust. So I just think it's cool to see how this is going to completely change the whole kickoff experience and hopefully make it, more exciting for us. And I can't wait to do it. I can't wait to see it. I'm sorry. I absolutely cannot wait to see it. Deontay Hardy is another guy who was brought in to be that kick returner after the absence, and Devin Duvernay goes down to Jacksonville. That's a Pro Bowl guy. It's an all-pro guy, really. And so just to see them, say, look, if this is how it's going to go, we're going to commit and we're going to make sure we get a good guy. So we'll see how that kind of develops. But it's just interesting to me because it's going to change Eric's job a little bit, as well as obviously the coaching staff and in a big, big way. So that's exciting. Can't wait to see how it all unfolds. But let me see here. Some other things I wanted to get in here and talk about. They talked to Zach Orr. They asked him, first of all, Zach Orr will be calling plays from the sidelines. He's not going to go up into a booth, which I like to some degree because I like these guys being able to gauge the atmosphere of the sideline, to talk to players. I mean, I know that the guys can pick up a phone, but I'm sure there's guys that maybe don't feel comfortable doing so. So let's go out there and get as close to these guys as possible. That way we can, get their feel. What do you like and what's working, what's not? I like to hear that he's going to be on the sidelines. That's pretty cool to see, pretty cool to hear. Obviously, I watched this guy's whole playing career, so I just can't wait to see what Zach Orr does and brings to this defense, brings his personality. He was asked about Roquan Smith, and of course, did nothing but rave about this guy. He says, this is the quote about Roquan: when you have Roquan Smith in your building, he's one of the best players in the league, and he's one of the best humans walking this earth. So giving him a lot of credit for showing up to an OTA that, again, he does not need. He does not need it at all. But it sets the tone. When your best players are also your leaders, look, because there's great leaders, and sometimes they're not your best players, and it's hard to listen to the voice when he's not impactful in the field. So when your best players are also your most vocal leaders, that's usually a recipe for success, because guys tend to follow the best players on the team. And there's no doubt that he's not just one of the best players, but also one of the most vocal leaders. So it's pretty cool to hear and see what he had to say. Then they talked to Todd Monken. This is the first time we've heard Baltimore Ravens reporters be able to talk to Todd Monken. We've heard Todd specifically on another coach's podcast, but they didn't even bring up the AFC Championship loss. So he was finally asked about it. And look, I'm going to be doing a little bit of reading between the lines here, and I could be way off. So let me just say that I could be way off. But I found it interesting when they asked about the lack of running the ball in the AFC Championship, and they asked about the lack of success. He said, his quote was, "Certainly we could have run the ball better." That's his quote. And so he never once said we could have run our running backs more. He talked about how we had runs from the other positions, and he said, but I'm not making excuses. We certainly could have run the ball better. He did go on to say that you can't control the game without being able to run the ball, which he said since he's gotten here. And I think, I tend to agree with him when you look at what he did last year. Nobody ran the ball. I think it was us and the Niners ran the ball by far the most in the league. So I believe he does that. He believes in that. But the fact that he didn't say we needed to run the ball more to our running backs, he said we could have run the ball better, tells me he might not necessarily agree with that specific sentiment. Because I was at the game, like a lot of people, and I saw where the Chiefs were just absolutely loading the box. And they were doing it, basically daring the Ravens to beat them over the top and beat them through the air. And the Ravens couldn't do it. They couldn't protect Lamar Jackson. And if they did, there was nowhere for him to go with the ball down the field. And if he did have a chance to throw it, they were either just a little off or the connection wasn't there. And so I'm like, so I think what he wanted to say is, well, look, if you want us to run into a 10-man box or an 8-9-man box, we can. But when a team brings safeties down up to the line of scrimmage, and is leaving guys single coverage on the outside, the clear option is to throw it over their heads. And they tried that, but they couldn't protect Lamar long enough, so he got absolutely destroyed. And if they did protect him long enough, there was nobody open, nobody winning that outside battle well enough for him to get that ball to him. So I think it was a combination of a lot of things. He just didn't want to get into it. I think if he had some truth serum, he would have said, look, if we would have hit on some of those deep plays, maybe they would have gotten guys out of the box and not had 8, 9 guys crowding the line of scrimmage, basically going, go ahead and run it, because we got more guys tackling than you have blocking. So unless your running back's going to make 2 guys miss in the open field, which, these guys are paid to tackle, and they have some pretty damn good linebackers who were either leading the league. Bolton either led the league or he was right up there in league leaders and tackles. Until we can back those guys out of the box, which this isn't something new here in Baltimore in the playoffs, then maybe we would have ran the ball a little bit more. Or if we would have hit one of those long throws, then we would have been in the red zone, and maybe we would have ran it more just because we're in the red zone. We're getting in there tight. I think that's what he wanted to say, but he just said certainly we could have run the ball better as a way to kind of just move on from the question and just kind of kick that down the road. But he did. Here, I'm going to put up here because, and shout out to Kevin. Oh, is this what you have here, DK? Is this some of the quotes on Todd Monken? I can't see what you have here. Go ahead and throw it up. Let me see what you got, because I got some quotes here too. Here we go. Oh, this is about Derrick Henry. Okay, so Todd Monken was also asked if he needs to manage Derrick Henry's workload, being as though he's getting a little older. And he said, well, if he carries it 300 times, we're having a hell of a year. I can tell you that. It means we're running it a lot. It means we're up in games. We want him to finish. We want him to be the closer. But first and foremost, we want him to make it through the season. It's a long season, 17 games. We'll see how it goes. He's been so durable, but I still anticipate the same of using all our backs. So he's obviously going to sprinkle in guys here and there. But I think what he's saying is if we're leading, we're going to ride Derrick Henry and let him be our closer, the hammer that kind of finishes games out. Excuse me. Sneeze. Oh. Excuse me. I should have probably muted that. Hopefully that wasn't crazy loud in your ears. But I wanted to go back quickly to him addressing the AFC Championship one last time, just kind of put this to rest, because let me see here. Okay, here we go. Because he does say, I'm not trying to justify it, because he did start to say, well, this guy ran it, and then as you can see here, I'm not trying to justify. I promise you that. In general, we needed to run the ball better, and we didn't. That's a fact. You can't control the game if you can't run the football. So you can see there, he didn't say we need to run it more. He said we need to run it better. And maybe I'm just reading between the lines, but I just find it, I don't know. I found that part interesting. He didn't say run it more. He said run it better. Meaning we ran it the amount of times I wanted to. We just didn't do as good a job. And maybe he could have said the same thing about passing, the passing attack. But nonetheless, we're going to run the ball like crazy. We don't get Derrick Henry to not run the ball. So I feel good about that. And let's hope that the star power that is Derrick Henry makes it less likely that they'll maybe devise a game plan to where they do try and use the pass to open up the run. But again, if the team is going to bring 8, 9 guys into the box, you can't just run it into a brick wall. So let's hope that they develop that downfield passing game to be ready for when they do, because they will. And they might not do it in the regular season, because we're seeing that this is a playoff-specific defense that really has stifled the Ravens' attack. So they got to get better at backing those guys off when they do decide to crowd the box with an effective passing game. Keep Lamar upright, keep him comfortable, and get open down the field. I can't wait to see, he talked about Rashad Bateman. He talked about how it was kind of unique in that, oh, here we go. Man, see, look at that. That's my guy, DK, right there, ladies and gentlemen. Sarah Ellison, shout out to her for putting this quote up here, says that Todd Monken, he does plan on getting Rashad the ball more often. He says, a quote here, oh, for sure. Last year was interesting, the fact that we had Odell Beckham. And Bate had missed the offseason and some of fall camp. So is he going to be healthy? So you put Odell. So it's like because he wasn't healthy, they just drew a lot of stuff up for Odell. And then that kind of carried over into the season is what I'm kind of taking out of that. He said then in the middle of the year, Bate gets a little banged up, and so does Odell. So here you are, and you're already in the season. We could have done a better job moving him around for sure. But as the year went on, Rashad really came on. I've seen tremendous growth, but the growth is just because he didn't have an offseason last year. I didn't see that, but I expect a tremendous year out of him. So, hey, these guys have got to – hold on, what's going on? How to beat that? Hold on. What's going on? What's going on, Seablooms? What's going on, bruh? Just losing it in the chat here, I'm seeing. I'm just interpreting what the guy is saying, guys. Chill out. I'm phony? Jesus. That's just not nice. That's just not nice. Now you're just being mean. But anyway, again, I'm trying to interpret what the man is saying. Read between the lines. Okay, calm down. But yeah, it looks like he's got big high hopes for Rashad Bateman. I think we all do. I think everybody's kind of hoping that Rashad Bateman has that breakout season. We see the talent. We see the numbers, the statistics that say, this guy's got he gets this amount of separation, which puts him beyond everyone in the league. But we didn't see the production. So let's hope that the production from a pass catching, yards, and touchdown standpoint catches up to the analytics that shows that this guy does a tremendous job getting open. We got to see it all kind of come to fruition there. But yeah, what I love to see is Rashad Bateman's reaction. I don't know if you guys have heard his interviews. So mature. Like, it didn't have like he didn't have like a whiny, which he could have, because I mean, look, I know what I'd be thinking if I was his agent. I'd be like, bruh, you're getting open like crazy. You're not getting the ball. This isn't a you thing. This is a them thing. But no, he didn't say that at all. He very professional, very optimistic about what's going to happen this year. But yeah, okay. Yeah, you're right, Jamal. I got to be careful. I don't want to get blocked. But yeah, anyway, Rashad's going to have a big year this year. I really think so. I just hope he can stay healthy. What would break my heart is to go out there for one of these training camps and see him come up lame, hurt an ankle, something that keeps him out. And then we're back to, possibly this again next season or this coming season. So let's just hope that this guy can stay healthy and that, the coaching staff can feel free to game plan him into this offense and make him really a star on this offense. Cause I think that's how good this guy really is about to be. Can't wait to see him. But yeah, let me see here if there's anything else I'm missing here. Let me just double check all my notes here, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm a note taker. But yeah, I mean, I don't see anything else that I drastically missed. If you guys have anything, throw it up in the chat really quick. That way I can mention it and talk about it. I know he's got to stay healthy here. He does. Okay, DK has something here. Looks like he's about to throw up on the screen. Oh yeah, he did. Zach Orr was asked about Kyle Hamilton and basically said the next step in the evolution of Kyle Hamilton's game, because they're like, how does he's 22. Like, how does this guy get better than the all-pro that he was last year? And I mean, the next step, it's high hopes from Zach Orr. He's talking about defensive player of the year. That's how good. And look, does anyone on this in the chat here want to say he can't win that? I don't think anyone would. When you talk about how that guy can impact the game, he can shut down your best tight end, which every team has a stud tight end, it seems like. I mean, it's ridiculous. They all got good ones. But he can guard him. He can lock up a talented slot receiver. He can blitz. I mean, he might be one of our very best blitzers. There's no doubt about that. He's probably, him and Roquan, it's a pretty close one, but he might just be our best open field tackler. So if you want a guy that can sniff out some stuff that's up close to the line of scrimmage, if a team likes to use the flats a lot to try and get explosive plays and get guys matched up in open field and hope they can make a guy miss, you ain't making Kyle Hamilton miss. That's how good that guy is. So really the next step for him is, I mean, you're already all pro, DPOY. Let's see if you can go out and win defensive MVP. And I don't think anyone would be shocked to see it. I mean, that guy is he's just special, man. He's just and it's just crazy because, like, I think he's going to continue to get way better. He's so young. And he's got things you can't teach, which is the physical abilities, being 6'4", having that wingspan. but also just natural instincts. I guess you can work. Can you work on it? I don't even know if you can work on instincts. Like, this guy just has a knack for what the team is going to, or the offense is going to do, and knows how to fix it, knows how to defend against it. So, yeah, let's see what this guy's got in his third year. Third year. But also wanted to touch, the team is still very much so in the market for a safety. So let's keep watching that. If it's not Jamal Adams, if it's not Eddie Jackson, who is it, right? A lot of people want Justin Simmons. He seems like he might be a little pricey. I mean, man, if that would be crazy if they got Justin Simmons, but I just don't want to get my hopes up, being as though it's such an expensive price tag and they already have two really good safeties. But yeah, let's watch. I do think, even though I'm sure they have some confidence, some young guys, they've had too many vets in to not end up ultimately signing one of them. So I do think they're going to have at some point in the time, a veteran safety added to the group. And I do think he'll be more of the traditional safety. Although Jamal Adams, I guess it would be interesting to see, but it'd be like kind of having like two Kyle Hamiltons. I don't know. I saw a tweet where, I don't know who put it up, so I can't give him credit, but somebody basically, while I think it was last season or the season before, they commented something, a reporter did, an NFL reporter, about a play that Jamal Adams made, and just commented like wow or oof or something like that. It was like a bad play he made. And all that he was commented like wow or oof. And he went to that reporter's page, pulled a picture of him and his wife, and put that same thing up and said oof or wow again. I didn't like that. Oh, he said yikes. Okay, not oof. He said yikes. So an NFL player basically, an NFL reporter had like a video of a play he made, and he said yikes, as in, not a good play. And Jamal Adams found a picture of this reporter and his wife, zoomed in on the one with, of their faces, and put yikes. I mean, come on. That's not the kind of pettiness I think would fit here. And I think that's what has some people worried. Not just the fact that he's a Seahawk, also some people worried he could have a bit of an Earl Thomas effect. And we certainly don't want that here on the team. Yeah, Gideon does not like his character. Yeah, I didn't like that, dude. Yeah, first of all, you never talk about somebody's family. Like, that's just a dirtbag thing to do. So, as an NFL player, you have to expect NFL reporters to have opinions on your game. It's like literally what he's paid to do. So I always try and tell people, fans and players and coaches, like, I used to drive me crazy about Bill Belichick because he would treat the media like shit. The media is the voice of us, the fans. Like, I don't get to ask Bill Belichick a question. The media does. So when you treat the media like crap, in my eyes, you're kind of treating and saying that the fans' questions and the fans' opinions don't matter. I don't like that. And so the same can be said for Jamal Adams. Like, if you don't think an NFL reporter can tweet a bad play of yours and put yikes, maybe he didn't use maybe he wasn't professional enough and he should have maybe picked something different than yikes. But he didn't go over any lines by saying yikes. Like, to pull a picture of his wife and say, yeah, it's a dirtbag thing. I don't like it. So for that reason, I'm worried about what he would do to the culture of this locker room. That's very important. But he could just have said, you know what, I was a moment of immaturity. I was mad. I saw it. And so I could end up, being like, all right, I get it. He had a bad moment and I'm not going to judge him on that. But it certainly does give you a little bit of pause and thinking maybe he could have some of that Earl Thomas effect in the locker room, which we do not want. But let's see here. Okay, here it is. Yeah, thank you. Look at that. Bobby Trossit's the one who tweeted. Okay, so as you can see here, can you zoom in a little bit, DK, on your screen, just so we can kind of see? But as you can see on the left, Connor Hughes, who's a guy who covers the NFL, and yeah, he tweeted out, as you can see, just a video of when Seattle played Dallas, and he just put yikes. And so, yeah, you can see Jamal Adams pulled a picture of that guy and his wife and captioned that with yikes, basically insulting their appearance. It's like, it's not nice. That's not cool. That's not cool. So, yeah, that gives me a little bit of pause for sure. Not to mention the fact that there's redundancy in his role here and the health issues. He played in one game last year and like 6 games the year before. So there's that as well. And I'm sure he still thinks he's, good enough to earn quite a good paycheck. So that's kind of my take on that and Jamal Adams. But I think that's it for all of what we got over the last couple days for OTAs. But the news is going to continue to come again tomorrow. If you haven't heard, we're having Kadri Ismail on to talk about the team, as well as his son Kadir making the Ravens 91-man roster as it's currently constructed. So I'm super excited to talk to him tomorrow night. Jimmy will be back for that, which I will welcome. Much needed. Need all the help I can get. But thank you guys for hanging out with me. Gideon, appreciate you being super active in the chat. Tanja, appreciate you as well. Looks like both of you guys kind of agree on Jamal Adams here. Jamal, let's see. I guess what he's saying is, yeah, I see what you're saying, Jamal. I appreciate you. Jax, appreciate you coming out. Everybody who came out, I appreciate you guys helping me out. As you know, I don't like doing this alone. I like having my co-host, my buddy. But I didn't want to, leave you guys tonight without a show recapping what's been going on. But tomorrow night, make sure you're there, and I'll talk to you then.